Welcome back. Today we're going to do a tying tips on properly tying a Swimmy Jimmy head. I did a couple of these, 2 videos previously on this. The deer hair work was sloppy, admittedly, and it was off. It was incorrect. So since I have learned how this is tied over the years, to the best of my knowledge, without being able to talk directly to Andy Sobota, you know, I don't know how much closer I'll be able to get on this one, but I think I have it to where it is as accurate as possible. Phone just rings non-stop. I think I have it as close to as accurate as possible. If that made sense. I don't know, I got distracted by the phone there. Anyhow, I'm going to go over and make the corrections, and I'm going to add this video to the other 2 that I did as kind of a supplemental thing. But what I'm going to do is go through this. This is a... I just did a custom order for Clark up in British Columbia on this pattern. One of his favorites. He catches some massive bulls on this thing. He sent me some pictures, man. It's just ridiculous. Some of the fish he's catching on this pattern. But anyhow, as I was going through that, I put a couple custom colors together and everything, and this is the one that really stood out to me. This is one of my favorites. It's got the MFC barred olive and black for the marabou going down the side, and then the white body and everything. And then this is a mistake. I was going for olive when I was dyeing this, and you can see it's not quite olive. It's more to the green side, but it works perfect when it's blended with this black. I use it on the DFTs, all of those patterns. This Swimmy, it's damn near perfect. I'll never be able to replicate it again. I panicked when I first started seeing the dye and it was way too green, so I added some browns, some grays, and this is what I came up with. I'm usually pretty meticulous when it comes to taking notes and everything as to what colors I get, but like I said, I panicked when I saw it was going almost to a Kelly green or an apple green, and this is what I wound up with. I've got, you know, probably 9 or 10 of these, so I'll be able to get a decent amount of flies. But as far as replicating the color, it'll be gone after this, because there's no coming back from that one, or there's no replicating it. I have no idea what the hell I put in that dye bath, so there we go. A little quick story on that mess. Anyhow, what we're going to do is combine this olive-ish and black to pair with the olive and black that we have from the MFC marabou, and we're going to do the white on the side. So I'm going to speak through this as I start picking some material and talking about some of the ways that I incorrectly did this in the past. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this olive green and set that off to the side. I'm going to take a little bit of black, channeling my inner Bob Ross here. Take a little bit of black. And then I'll just take some of that out. That is one of my guilty pleasures there. I'm not gonna lie, I do enjoy watching Bob Ross paintings for some reason. I can't paint for shit personally. I have a tough time drawing a straight line if you spot me a pencil and a ruler, but I don't know, watching some of the stuff that he does, man, that guy was something else, and it's just entertaining to watch him. So that is one of my things. When I have some downtime, I'll go on to YouTube or whatever it is and find some of his old stuff and watch that. He cracks me up. But man, the talent that guy had, just, he starts with just absolute, looks like garbage, and winds up being a masterpiece. So not saying that that's what's going to happen here. It may wind up being garbage, but it's entertaining if nothing else. Alright, so I have this little black and olive mixture here. It's a little heavier on the black. And it's a little heavier on hair actually. I'm going to take some of that out. I don't think I need to repack it. Looks pretty clear. And I'm going to repack it because I need thread on the hook here. I'm going to repack it because I need thread on the hook. So this is Gel Spun 200 and I start this above the bend. It's covered up a little bit with some thread on there. But I start this above the bend on my hook. The bend typically starts right about there. You'd be able to see if it weren't all covered. But anyhow, I like to put the collar on the flat plane on this hook and then work my way down that slant or the bend as I start forming the head. So I'm going to get this. One of the mistakes that I made before is I put the collar the entire way around on one of them, and then the other one I think I just had on the top, but the orientation of the head was off. This one, I'm going to put this, you can see it's going to be canted to the right just slightly, going more so toward the MFC marabou that I have on there. So I'm just going to take a little trim off of that. I'm going to cut it flush and then go 1, 2, and then get a third. I'm going to push that down with my thumb and it's going to have a tendency to travel to me just slightly. I'll just take and trim some of those out of there. I'm going to clear out a little bit of a platform, but you can see underneath, actually I want to kick that to the side a little bit. There we go. Now I have more on my side to go with this white belly hair. And then it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to put that on my side of the collar here. So we'll just drop that in, get a quick stack. And then I want to measure this out to the same length that I have on the olive and black. I'm going to set that right in like that. Same thing, cut this off square. And then just set this in 1, 2, flare that out. And then I'm going to work right in front. Same thing, I'm going to put my thumb in there, and then now you can see we have a nice clean break between that black and olive and the white, and it's right down the center, pretty close to down the center. And then underneath, we're clear, we don't have any of the collar right there. So then we're going to go back and start forming the head on this. I'm just going to half hitch so I don't go down that bend at all. Should be pretty clear though. Now I'm going to go back to the black and I'm going to pick out 2 sections of this because I'm going to wind up doing 2 stacks of black, olive, and white, and I'm just going to have them set off to the side so I can go a little bit quicker as I'm tying this. Just cut the tips off. I get a little bit better than that. Cut the tips off. I'm going to set that off to the side, and then I'm going to grab another black right here, taking a little bit less because this is going to be the front section. And we'll cut the tips off. I'm going to set that right there. Go back to our olive. This is like grade A body hair too. This is some of the best that I've worked with. Some of it from the same deer, you know, we're looking B's or C's probably, but man, this patch right there, it's just absolutely perfect. that's a little more sparse, so I'm going to set that on the front section. And then grab a little bit extra here. Clean that out, cut off the tips. And set that in, and then I'm going to mix the two. I start on the opposite side of the hook away from me when I'm tying these in. So I start with the colored deer hair first, and then I'll go with the body color to match on the opposite side. So I'm going with the marabou color first, and then the body color second, and I can already tell that I have way too much hair here. I'm just mixing this. This is something that I've really gotten into here as of late. I started mixing a lot of deer hair for the heads. I just really like the multicolor. I don't think it makes a damn bit of difference in the water, in all honesty, but I like the way that it looks on the vise, and I don't know, it's just something that I enjoy doing. So I started taking a little bit of extra time and adding some accent colors to some of my patterns here as of late. Alright, so we have that set in there. I'm just going to peel this off to the side and shorten up my thread here. And I felt like I was lost there without the scissors on my hand. And then I'm just catching that right in that center mass of that bundle. I work my third down through there. Not a ton of tension just yet. Let me flare that just a little bit more, and then I want to come around to this opposite side, right like this. And you can see I have a clear platform to tie on my white belly hair. Now that I have it like this, I just want to pull down and really flare this stuff out. You can see that nice clean platform that we have to tie our white with. I think this camera angle is going to pick this up pretty good. I tried it once already with an overhead camera angle, and I got part way through it. I was looking at it, and I just didn't like it. I don't think it gave the best instruction or the best view as to what we were doing here, so I stopped that video, retied the body of the fly, and then we're shooting with just a traditional setup here. So, on to our belly hair. We're going to set this in right on that platform that I have. Now I use less belly hair because it's going to flare a lot better, and it has more hollow properties than the body hair does, so I wind up using less of it. So there's 2 pulls. Just work my thread right through there. There's a third. I really flare that out, and then we're on our way. That's hopefully right down the center. Get my hand out of the way there. That's hopefully right down the center, run to the front of that hook. And you can see the flare on that belly hair compared to the body. It's a little bit thicker, and I'm just going to make sure, I'm going to find my eye here and make sure that I'm running down the center. I can tweak that slightly if I need to. I can't go getting a half rotation out of that without loosening up the hair. So I can tweak it slightly to get it how I want it, to get it in the proper orientation. And then I'm just going to make a couple more reps here. I'm going to go back to the mix of olive and black. And this, once again, is going to be more hair than what I'm going to need, but inevitably I'm going to wind up dropping something out of this at some point. So I always start with more hair than what I'm going to be expecting to use, because I do wind up dropping some. Then if it's too much, I can just take this out, you know, just little sections at a time. That's a pretty decent mix right there. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just gonna stack this in my hand here, just get everything somewhat close to even. There are the dogs. Somewhat close to even. Girls, relax. UPS truck came by earlier and they just lost their shit. Had to stop filming on that one and reshoot. So there's 1, 2, and then I'm gonna get a third. Same thing. Before I pull down tight on that, I just want to make sure that that platform is going to be nice and clear right there. It's a little bit trickier on this because you're messing with the eye of the hook. You wind up getting, it's just a little bit tougher with the eye of the hook right there. You wind up trapping a few fibers here and there. So I just want to clear this out and really flare that out, and I still have that nice clean platform to finish up with that white belly hair. I don't know how well the camera's picking that up. It looks like it's alright. It looks like it's alright. You can see that nice clear platform that I have right there. Not a ton of room to go with this, but just enough to get that white belly hair in here. We're going to get one more stack, and then we're going to finish this one up and then trim the head. Once again, taking less belly hair than you used for the body hair. I'm going to clear everything out of there. Keep my hand out of the way, and then same thing as before. I got one piece of olive that wants to come up there. It's not allowed to. Go 1, 2, and then a third. I'll really flare that out. Just pull down tight on that. Everything's flared how I want it. I still have that nice, there's a little bit of travel, but I'm going to put an eye on top of it. I don't know, not a ton of travel. Not a ton. And you can see we have that nice clean break going down through there on both the top and the bottom. Bottom's a little sloppy. There's that one olive hair that tried to get in. Get out of there. There we go. Okay, so now we're just going to peel this stuff back. Once again, I want to make sure if I need to turn this at all, I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Like I said, you may be able to get 1/8 of a rotation or something around there if you need to adjust your hair. But if you're trying to go for anything more than that, it's going to wind up loosening up your thread and your fly's going to unravel on you. So we'll just get that packed in there. You got a few hairs traveling around, but not a big deal. We'll be able to get those out of the way. And then I want a whip finish like so. 1, 2, 3. Get a second one in there, and we're good to go. So now we're going to go into the portion that I messed up big time on the last one. You want these heads, and let me get one of these out of here. These are one of the ones that I have going up to Clark there. You want these heads nice and broad like that. The ones that I had cut before were way too thin, and it wound up just being an absolute mess. But there you can see the downward bend that we have in this. There is the profile that we're after for that big, flat, broad head that's just going to catch that water and make this fly dance. So what we're going to go through here is the trimming process for this, and I'm going to start on the very top. And typically when you see me working with these, my bend is about like that. That's a mistake that I made on the last one. This bend is maybe that much right there. So I'm going to turn this thing on its side, and I'm going to be working on, or I'm going to keep this right side up. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. I'm going to be working on this top portion right here, And you can see just a very minimal bend. I'm working my way back to the tips of my collar right there. Just working this right through, just pushing through slightly. There we go. It's starting to come into shape just a little bit. I'm going to transition now and go to the bottom side. I got some marabou coming out from my straw there, making things a little more difficult than what it needs to be. Now this side I can get a little bit more aggressive, not so much on the bend, but on the actual trim, because I'm not worrying about messing up the collar on this bottom side. So I get a little bit more aggressive right out of the gate on that first trim, and there you can see we've got a pretty clean underneath side there. A little bit of kick to the one side, but I'm not unhappy with this at all. Not a ton of travel. It's consistent on the top and the bottom actually. So now that I have my overall shape, I'm going to get more aggressive on this bottom section. Try not to clip any of that marabou. Hook rotated on me just slightly there. The shape is starting to come in now. I want to go back to this, and I'm working on the upper portion of the bend, or on the top portion of that bend. I'm just pushing that through toward my collar, and I'm really getting that broad deer hair head that's just going to catch a bunch of water and turn this fly every which direction. Not rushing through this portion. The video may wind up being just slightly longer because I'm taking my time on this, but I want to make sure that I get the proper instruction for this fly this time. Okay, we're really starting to come into shape right here, as you can see on that bottom section. There it is. I want to go even more aggressive on this, so I'm just going to have a flat blade, and realizing that I'm working into the bend on this, I know I have some room for air, and I want to cut just a little bit more aggressive. Into that. I really want that bend to be apparent. Get rid of some of that hair on the collar side, underneath. There we go. There you can really start seeing that bend come into shape now. And then I just want to clean the top of this up a little bit more. One or two more passes through this. Working my way up to my collar. There we go. That's really cleaned that up nicely. Now, I still have this stuff on the side that I want to address as well. I want to get a little bit more of a rounded shape to that, so I'm just ever so slightly coming through here and just rounding that edge off. A little bit more aggressive at the front, and then just feathering it on the way back. Can kind of clean that up slightly. Same thing on the belly hair side. And then I'm going to take the scissors out. And just trim that. I'm going to trim this going against the grain to give me my shape a little bit better. Same thing, a couple of these that are creeping into the collar. I want to go ahead and get rid of those. And then I'm going to take this out of the vise so it's easier to see. holding this. Let me make sure we're in the frame there, we're good. Holding this and then going once again against the grain will just give you that shape that you're after. It's a little bit easier to cut this when you're going against the grain like that. So there we have everything sitting how we want it. I can take this straw off because that marabou's driving me nuts right now. I want just a little bit more out of this top section. And that's looking pretty good. Alright, I'm really getting picky here now. Alright, take our straw off. Let me get this in the clamp so I don't put it through my thumb. Clean that up, and then the last thing that we're going to do is put on the eyes for this pattern. So another thing that I had messed up on the original video was I put the eyes on both sides like you would typically see any standard fly, you know, whether it be a dungeon with the dumbbell eyes running horizontally. These ones actually run vertically on the fly's orientation. So let me find my eyes here. We're just going to put some gold MFC eyes on this. If I can get it out of the package. And we're going to go with some Loctite gel, and I'm just going to trim out a little bit of a divot right here for my eye to sit in. Just slightly. I just want a little bit out of that, just so it's recessed a little bit. So then make sure that I'm going right down that center line from the eye of the hook. I'm going to drop my eye first. I'm going to drop in a little bit of gel. And then throw this eye on there. Running right down the center. And conveniently it covered up that little bit of deer hair that got a little squirrely on me. A little bit of travel from the olive into the white, just absolutely unacceptable. So we'll put an eye over top of it and fix that. Same thing on the bottom. We're going underneath here. Just getting a little bit of glue on. There's really no need to cut out a divot or anything because this bottom section's trimmed so much closer to the hook, so it's a more sturdy platform to glue an eye to. But there's the bottom eye right there, and then there's the top one as it sits. So let me see if I can, I don't know if I should spin this around or if I should take it out of the vise to get a better look at. I think I'm going to try and spin it. That way we can get a good look at this in that rear camera. So there is the side or the front profile that we're looking at right there. There's the underneath side with that aggressive bend. And then I'm going to rotate this one more time so we can see how aggressive that bend is on this side right there. There's the top portion of the fly going underneath. Give that just a quick 360 and then we'll shut this video down. But you can see how broad that head is right here, where in the past when I tied these it was way too thin. I had too aggressive of a bend with my blade, and I wound up cutting that head width down a lot, and it's opposite of how this fly was designed. So I had to correct a little screw up there. anyhow, that is the completed portion of the Swimming Jimmy head. Like I said, I'm gonna attach this, or I'm gonna put this video link on the previous two that I did. I didn't want to reshoot the entire video. I mean, it's just really Palmer and Marabou and a little bit of flash in the between the two hooks. But if you want to see like the full pattern, you can go back and check out any of those previous ones. But that will wrap this one up, guys. As always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch, listen to me ramble a little bit, screw a couple things up here and there. But if you have questions or comments, leave them with me. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But we'll catch you next Wednesday. Thanks.